McConnell raising the white flag today, declaring that there will be no vote on the Republican health care bill before the Independence Day recess. It's not even July yet, of course. He couldn't get his recalcitrant members to a so-called safe space. He pawned off that responsibility to President Trump.
We're still working toward getting at least 50 people in a comfortable place. We're going down to the White House at 4 o'clock. The President invited us to come down. The White House has been very much involved in these discussions. They're very anxious to help.
Well, is this the way to run a legislative body? Tonight we're going to find out. We're joined by someone who knows quite a bit about that. Former Speaker of the House, 2012 presidential candidate Newt Gingrich, author of the #1 New York bestseller, Understanding Trump. And I don't know if you've got any chapters in your bestseller about McConnell and Ryan, but this might be the time to illuminate for all of us. What do you make of where we are? Again, a first-level failure on the part of McConnell right after Ryan did it. I mean, what is going on?
Well, I think, first of all, and you're not going to be particularly happy with this, but I think, first of all, this is called the legislative process.
Yeah.
It's always a mess. It's always hard. Look, they decided to take on the hardest single thing they could do. 1/5 of the economy, life and death, and a system totally screwed up. They're trying to find a path to get to a reform that'll work. And I give Mitch a lot of credit. Mitch is a very shrewd manager of the Senate. I'm pretty sure I know what happened. He came in over the weekend thinking, if I set a deadline for Saturday, I can squeeze him, I can sweat him, we'll get a couple small amendments, we'll get this done. By early today, he talked to enough of these members to realize they're not going to move that fast. And in fact, several of the members were saying to him, unless you take it past the recess, there's no way I'll vote yes. So he did the only thing he could have, which I think is smart. I think that he also learned from how hard it was for Speaker Ryan, who lost the first round. And Mitch could have driven hard this week, lost the first round, but I think it didn't get him very far.
Right.
The challenge they've got is that they're going to have the president's help, but frankly, this is what Trump is all about. He wants really big change. You don't very often get really big change in the legislative body unless you have a president personally engaged and personally helping make it happen. It's very hard for legislative bodies to produce very large-scale change on their own.
I think that Mitch, without question, will be grateful for your elaborate, if I may say, and entirely coherent and acceptable rationalization of failure. But the reality is that neither McConnell nor Ryan were prepared for what they should have known and understood was their responsibility, irrespective of what was to occur. And yet here they are, flat-footed, unprepared, and by the way, one could even suspect them of aiding and abetting in the aggrandizement and lionization of one President Trump, because they're making it impossible for this to happen without his leadership, his intervention in the process to save their necks.
Look, I am certain that neither Speaker Ryan nor Majority Leader McConnell is trying to aggrandize Trump. They would both love to get this thing solved. They both realize that this is as hard a thing as they will try to do in their entire career. And I think if there was a mistake made, it was by putting this first and trying to ram it through quickly. I know a fair amount about healthcare. I've written a book on it. I founded the Center for Health Transformation. I helped reform Medicare in 1996. I helped defeat Hillary Care earlier in the 90s. So this is a topic I've been with a long time.
Do you think we invited you on this show not knowing who you were? Come on.
No, but I'm saying that so the audience. I'm saying that so the audience will understand. I'm not talking about this in a light, casual way.
No,
this is I believe healthcare is 10 times more complicated than national defense, and I think it's very hard to do right. But here's my prediction based on understanding Trump. Trump never gives up. Trump will find a way in the end to get to a signable bill. It may take an extra few weeks. It may take a lot of meetings at the White House.
And a little money.
But in the end, he will grind away and grind away. Well, it may take a little help here and there to get the system to work. But my point to my friends who are impatient, and you're certainly in that group, is look, and I don't mind you being impatient, but just understand, this is the legislative process. It is cumbersome, it is painful, it is frustrating, and it was designed that way by the Founding Fathers.
Yeah. And I accept all of that, although I also infer from the experience of watching these two men that they're inadequately prepared for the legislation that, as you say, will affect whether you call it 50, whether you call it a fifth or 20% of this economy, whatever the number is, it is fundamental to the economy and to our society. And frankly, I would feel much better if they brought your gravitas to the matter rather than their own. I'll put it that way, Newt. Let's quickly turn to fake news. And it looks to me as if the president has turned a very important corner. It is now a clear, certifiable fact that fake news has been precisely what the president said from the very beginning. Fake news with people practicing a craft that doesn't resemble anything like that for which they were trained. That is journalism. And the nation now knows that CNN has lied, constructed stories in pure ether. That the Washington Post has become a blog for Jeff Bezos. The New York Times, a blog for Carlos Slim, and the list goes on. Don't you think that's remarkable, first of all, that we've reached this point, this inflection point, in what looked like a very dire time for the president?
Yeah, look, I do think it's remarkable that you've seen great institutions with great traditions degenerate into attack machines and propaganda machines. That's why I've argued for months now they should totally change the White House communications. I'm delighted they're restricting it down to one televised event a week. That may be too many, because I think you have to confront this. This is a very tough reality. When you see some of this inside stuff and you realize how deliberately biased and how deliberately hostile these organizations are being, they're not news organizations, they're attack organizations. And we should understand that that's what's going on.
And the remarkable thing is the American people now understand it. And by the way, I don't think that would have occurred if the president had given up even one of his tweets to all of the folks who support him.